Watch. No, it'll be good. You're gonna be super satisfied because it's really cool. Just wait. We're good. So today, here's what we're looking at. So far, we have learned how to take something like this, and we've learned how to factor it. Correct? Right? We've learned how to factor that, and then we would get something like that. So we've learned how to go from those two binomials, factor them, and then get this trinomial here. Today, what we're going to learn how to do is take this trinomial and put it back into that form. Okay? That's what we're going to learn how to do today. That's all that stuff means. It's not too bad. Order of operations is that we are going to look at some examples, really like one. No, we're going to look at lots of examples, and then we just need to practice a lot. So practice. Here's the only definition type of thing that you need to write down today. I'm going to give you a second to write it down, and when you write it down, it might seem a little bit confusing, but I'll clear it up after you get it.
You think it's only a little bit confusing?
Just a little bit. Just get it written down. We'll talk about it. Won't be a big deal.
No notes on anything.
You'll write this down now and we'll talk about it, but you probably won't look at this a whole lot.
Is positive for COVID?
This is 7.7, yeah. Factoring x squared plus bx plus c. That works too. Hi, Rissa. Hi, Emma. See ya. They're in my second hour. Ugh.
They were roommates.
What?
They were roommates.
Who?
I don't know. She said they were roommates. I don't know. They were roommates.
I don't know if I want to start asking questions. So it is.
No. Not. Line C is div.
The big thing that we want to have down here is this right here. I'm really not overly worried about the rest of it, because the rest of it we will just get sure. Oh, sorry. Hey. Are you guys picking on Robbie?
No.
This right here is what I want you to get down. Where are you going? Michael. I got you too.
Oh no. It's not English water.
Alright. Okay, let's talk about this.
No.
Hey, you ready to lock in? You gotta listen to what's going on here.
Can I fill the water bottle after we do this?
After we do this.
Yes.
Here's what we have. When we go from this form, first thing, B and C just represent numbers. Okay? We've done things, it could be something like this. So B and C just represent numbers. Our x values will stay the same. When we go from this form and then start to involve parentheses, here's all that this is talking about. We need whatever numbers we choose for P and Q, they have to multiply together to get C. Okay? times q would have to equal c. Whatever numbers we put on the end. Also, when we add these last two numbers, p and q, they need to add together to give us the value of b. They need to add together to give us the value of b. So the easiest way to look at this stuff is to look at a few examples. So, first example, x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now, when we start off, we know right away we're going to have parentheses. We're going to have our x out front. So I would just write those in right away. We need to figure out what numbers are going to go along with x. Now, like I said, whatever number goes here and here, we have to be able to multiply it together to get 5. So if we have no idea what it might be, we can just look at the factors of 5. 1 times 5, and that's it. So we know that we have to have plus 1 and plus 5. Now we can double check that because we can look. 1 times 5 would give us 5, so we get our end number. But also 1 plus 5 would give us 6. So we know that it would factor out and give us x squared plus 6x plus 5. Let's look at a little bit more of a complex example. The second one, if we factor x squared, we know that we are going to have our parentheses and our x's. Now, we also know that whatever goes in the parentheses, it has to be multiplied together to get 16. So I want to look at my factors of 16. 1, 16, 2, 8, then 4 times 4 would be my factors of 16. So it could be a combination of any of these things. That's probably not a good way to list that. So it could be any of those pairs are our options to go inside the parentheses. Now, we narrow it down to just one because when we add them together, it has to equal 10. So which one of those pairs added together would give us 10?
2.
Right, 2 and 8.
Right.
So x plus 2, x plus 8 would go inside our parentheses. If we were to put 4 and 4, or let's say we put 1 and 16 inside the parentheses, we would get our 16 here at the end, but then we would get 17 here instead of 10, so it would work. So the factors that we choose have to be multiplied together to get that end number, and then added together to get it would be the b value.
This isn't so bad.
Well, we haven't thrown negatives in yet. Which is, it's not too bad, but it just gets a little more complicated with negatives.
Negatives are my least favorite thing. I'm so done.
So a couple more examples. And you don't have to write down every single one of these examples, but I just want to show you a decent amount so you can get a feel for it. Our numbers need to be multiplied together to give us 8. So we could use 1 and 8, or 2 and 4. Our numbers need to be able to be added together to give us 9. So 2 plus 4 would give us 6. 1 plus 8 would give us 9. So we know it has to be plus 1 and plus 8. Start out with a z and a z. We have to be able to multiply together to get 24. 1 and 24. 2 and 12. 3 and 8. questions do you have before you do a couple on your own? All right. There are two of them on your own. What? Can't hear you. This is just a pause. After this, we have to look at the situation with negatives. So we're like halfway. Well, we're more than halfway.
Yes.
But once we're done, then you can start. Questions?
3 and
Yep, C plus 3.
I'm gonna be on the system with that one. Oh, never mind.
And these will be two problems that I need to see before getting the worksheet. Worksheet.
Is the worksheet gonna be double-sided?
Is it going to be two-sided?
Yeah.
See, I don't even have to say it anymore. Just gonna have to ask, yeah. Now you could easily see where they would say, give us these two equations, give us these two problems, and say just find the zeros or solve the equations and set them equal to 0. So first you'd have to factor it, and then you could pretty easily find the zeros. Or find when it all equals 0. You don't have to for this one, but I'm just giving you a preview. All right, now let's look at, wow, those are not really too big. Now let's look at a couple examples of when we have negatives involved. Because our rules all stay the same, it just becomes a little bit trickier. X squared minus 8x plus 12. Still, we're going to set up our parentheses. Put the x out front. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now notice this time we need to get a little bit more familiar with some of this terminology. So this number in front of just the x is our b value. The number at the end we refer to as the c value. So when I say we have a negative b, then we need to know that I'm talking about a negative. Now this time we're still looking at factors of 12, so our numbers multiplied together have to give us 12, but we have to have a negative 8 be the result if we add them together. Does anyone have an idea of how and what numbers it would be for that? Nope. Could be what? -2, -6. Nice job, Pat. -2, -6, right? Because two negatives multiplied together would still give us the positive 12. But if we have -2 plus a -6, we would get -8. Very good. X squared minus 14x plus 24. We set up our parentheses, x and x. Factors of 24, I think we write down 24. 12, 8, 4, and 6. All these are factors of 24. We need -14 in the middle. How would we get -14 in the middle? -2, -12. Nice job.
Yeah.
practice. 2 problems. You get to do on your own. I have one more set of examples and one more problem. Yeah, because that time just our b value is negative. Now we need to see what happens when we have other negatives. Why did it have to be negative? I don't know. Does anyone like pumpkin spice? I found pumpkin spice creamer. Put in my coffee this morning. No bueno.
No bueno?
No bueno. Mm-mm. I'm still gonna drink it.
Put a little bit of red hot in it. Oh, that'd be gross. That'd be nasty. Chicken. You guys get this stuff?
So eventually you'll get to the point where you don't have to like take 3 and list all the factors of 3 and then try to add them together and stuff. But I think if you're struggling with these, you first want to take that n number, that c value, list out all the factors, and then it can help you see what or how we would get to our p value. So what numbers, if we look here, we need to see what numbers come together give us 3.
Hey, yo.
So what?
What be the factors?
Yep. Hi. 1 times 3, right? So we know that these have to be 1. Now we present to the side. Negative, positive, positive. Oh, we have a negative.
And then I forgot.
So we have 1 and 3. How do we get to negative 4? Yeah, they both have to be negative. Factors. Alright, about 10 more seconds on this slide. If you didn't quite get it done, make sure you have both problems written down.
Oh.
Alright, last type of, last type of problem that we see. Y squared plus 13y gives us 30. Now we know we're starting out with y and y. We need things that are multiplied together to give us 30. 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 no, 5. Yes, 5 and 6. 7 no. Okay, so there are our factors of 30. Oh, we need negative 30. So one of them, well, I'll ask you. If we need to get negative 30, what has to be true about numbers to multiply together, those factors? Do they both have to be negative, both positive? What's the deal? 1 negative, 1 positive. Good job. So we know we're going to have 1 that's positive, 1 that's negative. Now, our b value is positive 13. So that means that whatever we choose, the larger number, the larger factor, like if we chose 3 and 10, then we would need 10 to be the positive one, right? We need a bigger number to be the positive one because our b value is positive. So if we chose 10 and 13, this is supposed to kind of be a little bit of a trick question because 10 and 3, when we add them together, we would get positive 13, but we couldn't get, we would need both of these to be positive, right? So we would kind of be in trouble. So what would we need, Rowan? 2 and 15, right? If we have a positive 15 and a negative 2, 15 times negative 2 would give us negative 30, and then 15 minus 2 would give us 13.
This is a wee bit more complicated.
Factors of 20. We have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, then 4 and 5. We need to have a positive 1 as our b value. So if we have one that's positive, we know we're working up with ones that have one positive, probably one negative. So what pair would we use? And what would be our positives and negatives? What? 5 and 4? Which one would be the positive and which would be the negative? 5 would be positive, 4 would be negative. 5 times negative 4 gives us negative 20. 5 plus a negative 4 would give us positive 1. Very good. We'll skip this last example. We'll just go one more again. Yay! The factors are 1 and 26. 2 and 13. I think that's it. We know we're dealing with all positives. One positive, one negative.
Positive 2, negative 13.
We have a negative 11 as our b value. So we would need, just like Michael said, a positive 2 and a negative 13. Now, if we weren't sure, last thing, and then I'll let you look at the last practice. If we weren't sure if our answer was correct or not, how can we check it?
You do it.
How can we check it? How can we check it? Based on what we've already worked on. Couldn't we just re-boil this back out?
I mean, if you want. Are we gonna have to do this?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, good.
If you're on a quiz or something, you're not sure. And we just boil it back out. And we should same answer back to check it. Correct? Now they're not going to tell you. You're just going to have to look at the problem. They're not going to section it up. Like, hey, these are all plus and plus. These are all minus and plus. These are all plus and minus. They're not going to tell you all of that. You're going to have to look at each problem and kind of figure out where our pluses and minuses go. Yeah, Mia?
Did you say the big number has to be the point?
So it depends. Thank you for asking me that. It depends on what our b value is. Like in this case, our b value is negative 11. So our larger number is probably going to be negative. Right? We have to get down to negative 11. We'll have to have a larger number. Yeah, negative. Thank you for pointing that out. And just like with here, we have a positive 1 would be our b value. So our larger number had to be the positive. All right.
Oh,
Here-
man.
Here's the last practice problem. I need to see those. What was it? 6 total problems. We'd like to see those 6, and then you can grab the worksheet.
And then I can fill up my water bottle.
And whoa. Yes, thank you.
No, never stop. Make it an hour long recording.
I accidentally did that for geometry.